Right? Yep. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We're all ready. Well, everybody good?
Yep.
Then we'll call this meeting order. A motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next up, we have public comment on the agenda. If there's none, then we'll to our second tier canvas for the November 7th city school election.
Right, this one's a lot faster and a lot easier, so. It's just bringing in the other counties. For the first one, it is certifying in Taylor County, so at the polls, they had 83 for Patrick Hayes. 18 of the write-ins were for Josh Wyman and 14 were for Mike Butt. So it is just pulling in those, and then their absentee, they had 2 for Patrick Hayes. And so then. The other one for Taylor County would have been for the Clarinda School District, and so it is pulling in those precincts of Bedford Township on election day. They had 2 vote yes, 1 vote no for the Clarinda School Measure RA, and then absentee, they had 1 vote no. Gravity, they didn't have any to report. Newmarket, they had 47 vote yes, 57 vote no, and absentee had 1 vote yes and 2 vote no. And so it is tying in those for that specific one. And then for Essex School District and Director to fill a vacancy, Montgomery County, they had 2 vote at the polls for Doug Omoff, 1 vote for Meredith Baker, and 2 vote for Brian Johnson. And there was no absentees for them to report those. And so it's just tying in those. And then for public measure QB, they had 2 vote yes and 0 vote no. So it's pulling in that as well from Montgomery County. So you guys will be certifying those. And then for Shenandoah, this would be for Fremont County certifying in for Ward 2. They did not have any individuals vote for that, as well as for the city council or the city park commissioner. So it is just certifying that they did not have any change in votes there. And the final one is tying in Mills County. And this would be for Shenandoah School District Director at Large. And they as well did not have any reporting in as well. So it is just certifying that. So I will just need you guys to sign off on these. A little quick. There's.
Okay. Just the top one,
There'll be.
one's behind. Okay,
And there's a total of 4 on each.
okay.
So.
Good. Skip the page. We don't, that's. That's. You?
Okay. Was that all complete? Good. Okay, we've completed the second tier canvas. Next up on the agenda is the engineer update.
Morning, JD King, Page County Engineer. It's a lovely fall day in Page County after a needed rain. Of course, we had dust last week. Now we have mud. But it's a nice rain. And we have some blades out on the hard roads. We got one truck hauling in there, had some crews cutting brush. Did some coal patching yesterday. We're on the way to Atlantic with a low boy to pick up motor grader number 2 that had some warranty work done, transmission, differential. Number 4 is in for a service motor grader. It's the one with the retriever on the front end right now. We're mounting snow equipment on the last couple of tandems. And we're scheduling to demo a couple wheel loaders in anticipation of next season's or next year's budget, equipment budget. 190th Street Bridge over the Middle Tarkio is underway, the bridge replacement there. They're moving in equipment yesterday and today. The road's closed, the detour's marked. K Avenue, 170th Street, and Ironwood Avenue. We're working on future road and bridge plans. There's a nice article on KMA about the river access of the 150th Street Essex Bridge. I want to thank the folks from Essex for that. And of course, A Avenue, the unofficial used detour on the 59 project is creating some calls. We're gonna put up some type 3 barricades with road closed to through traffic on 4 spots, 2 on A Avenue and 1 at 170th and 59 and 150th and 59 to see if that doesn't slow down people not using the pavements to get around the bridge. We certainly encourage folks on 59 to go up to Essex and use D Avenue and then 130th Street, which is a pavement that'll take you to and from 59. Use the pavements, not the gravels. We got some conferences coming up next month. Hungry Canyon's meeting on the 1st, and the engineers conference in Des Moines, kind of the 3rd week in December for a couple of days. And I'm working on repair costs for various service types for the wind ordinance. My goal would be to get that to Carl by end of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
Questions for me?
On that warranty work on that grader, how did that turn out?
Well, we're getting it back. I haven't seen the paperwork yet.
On them
But
taking care of it.
it should be, it's part of the powertrain.
So they haven't seen the
I
final.
haven't seen the final paperwork, but that's what should happen.
Okay.
What are you gonna get to Carl, JD?
Repair costs for
No, to Carl.
That's what he said.
the
Oh, you're talking, okay.
For the
cost
wind.
per mile
Oh,
of road repairs for the wind ordinance part.
Last week we discussed that in the meeting. I was
For that.
working on that, just so we have some figures to use.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is the seatbelt policy. Do we have any new information on that or any more information, JD's here? I didn't see any new information. Is there any? Have you had a chance to,
Did you, yeah,
I haven't heard back from a lot of people yet.
okay? What do we want to do on that?
Well, it's on the seatbelt restraint policy, is that for, that's for insurance purposes?
Yeah, ICAP reached out and they came down for a site visit and, found a few deficiencies in the policy, so that was where they added some things, that they felt we needed to have. So that's coming directly from them, that they feel those are the deficiencies they noted, so.
so maybe that just needs to be signed by the engineer and moved forward, because that's what they're asking to us to do. There's not really a choice, is there?
From my understanding, no, and it's not just for secondary roads, it's
For
across the
everybody?
Across the, yeah,
Employees.
okay.
They feel there was certain things that weren't in the policy that needed to directly be addressed. So it's just from an insurance perspective, how they wanted things basically worded in.
Is that something then all employees will have to sign off on,
Yes,
go in there?
yeah.
Okay.
So once it's approved, we'll roll it out to for all employees to sign.
You were able to review that, weren't you, the new one? It is, it's right here, yeah, right here.
And basically,
What was the change? I've not seen the old one.
we didn't have a direct seatbelt restraint policy. We had it tied in more into our driving policy. Other departments, I think, had specific, I think like JD had his own specific restraint policy, correct, JD?
Correct.
But because we didn't have one across the board, I think insurance wanted us to have a very specific one across the board. So that hit the criteria that they felt all employees needed to make sure that they followed regarding if they're in a personal or if they're in an official vehicle, equipment, rental car, and even a personal vehicle if they're on county business. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that if it's something that our insurance company is wanting us to have across the board, that we would just go ahead and approve that and cover it with all employees to have signed.
Yeah, and there's really not anything in here. It's just basically stating that all department heads will annually evaluate with their department, the seatbelt policy. And to basically just going through that, all employees are required to wear those restraints when they're in any, basically operating any sort in any official business capacity. And then it talks about, you know, if they're in an off-road, any off-road equipment as well, those are required as well.
I guess I would make the motion that we adopt the new seatbelt policy. If we
I'll
can,
second that.
if that's possible.
I've got it right here.
Yep.
Okay, we got a motion by Todd and second by Judy. Any other discussion on that? Adopting this policy? Or not, we'll vote on it. Could you call, roll call vote, please? Could you roll call vote,
Oh.
please?
Clark,
Yes,
Maher,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes. Okay, we adopted the policy. Okay. All right. Next up, we're working on the wind ordinance draft. Got the updated one like yesterday or whatever, got that. I kind of read over that again. I think what we're waiting on now is just maybe a number for our fee schedule for repairing the roads, which JD's working on, if he gets that tomorrow or something. We can insert that in if the board thinks that's,
Yeah, and once you got those numbers, I would be fine with you if you want to post it on the website.
should we post it? I thought about this when I was reading it this morning. It's got everything cut and then added and everything else. Clean it up where it's not just whatever our changes are in it and post that, so it's not cut and started and stopped, just post what it would look like if we.
Oh, not posting this exact format.
Yeah, well, just clean it up. Just have, he can keep this one around, but just clean up all the stuff that's gone.
Do you want the highlighted sections
Just be like
taken
they're
out,
there.
just
No,
so it looks like it's normal?
like it's there, then we can look it over, but
Maybe people need to
Okay.
see how it was and how it's going to be.
Yeah, or I just thought maybe it's good to highlight them, just so they know what we
You
did
could leave those
change.
That's what I'm
highlighted, I
saying,
guess.
yeah.
Well, maybe leave that highlight, just you have part scratched out, part, because it's all there in the one that's on the website anyway, the old one's there, you can read it.
But you'd have to go back and forth. This way it's all there.
Well, I guess we can leave it all there, I just am trying to make it look like it's gonna look, maybe cleaned up.
Well, I think they'll know it's a draft and it's
Yeah.
not finalized, but I think in order to help the public understand what the changes were and what we've been doing, I think it's good to have that visual. So
Well, then,
they can
I would
see
agree
it.
with you.
I mean,
when we get the numbers put into the road part, we just send that to solutions and say, put it up. We can
I
do that.
suppose, I know.
The other,
Make sure that it's, and maybe you can, I don't know if you can watermark it or put as unofficial or
make the top,
whatever, yeah, so.
we'll
that-
just make the whole heading, like this is just a draft
Yeah,
up for review,
yeah.
public
And,
review. Okay. The only other thing I had on here was on the setbacks with the right of way, it's 1.1. Which I read a lot of ordinances, and 1.1 is, the height from the roadway. Several of them more than that. I don't know. I kept like note of like a 2.1 or 3.1, something to make it a little farther from the road. I think we do have something in here about shadow flicker not going on the right of way, which would probably fix that, but ice is a concern being thrown in the road.
Yeah.
Is my concern when ice comes off of. So I don't know where to make that like a 3.1. That's something very easy to change.
Right.
Just one little number.
Well, we can kind of keep that in mind when we get ready to start talking through the final draft.
That's the only other thing I had. So if we get some numbers from JD that he's gonna give dollars to repair or replace each kind of road, granular surface, different kinds of pavement. And then we'll just put some wording in there that says however many miles of each type of road will determine times this dollar amount will determine how much money they have to put aside to fix them when they come into their project. The roads affected by their project. Something of that nature, does that sound all right? Can I tell Carl, so to give him that? Okay,
Absolutely.
when we get that put together, that'll give us a number that applies to the specific project for repairs. Then we can post it. Anything else?
One other thing with our solution, so on our website, we still have a job opening thing on there. Can that be taken
Yeah,
off?
it needs to be taken down, so I guess I
Okay.
could email them and take that down.
Okay.
Look it over here. Okay. I think if that's it, we'll try to get those numbers next day or two, and then whenever that happens, we'll just get it posted. I think there's not really much else to do, and then we'll set a timeline for starting hearings once everybody gets a chance to look at it. Okay. Are we good there for that item? And then the next step is the signing contract with Samuels Group for construction managers of the jail project.
Good morning supervisors, good morning Page County residents. I'm Greg Wild with the Samuels Group. Last Thursday, we were here discussing a proposed contract, the need for that contract as a construction manager to move the jail project forward. Within 18 hours of that conversation, you had a hard copy of that contract in hand that we proposed for your review and review of the county attorney. Based on a conversation that I had yesterday with Jacob, he requested negotiation of the fee. We did revise the contract yesterday and I sent that to everyone. All the board members and the county attorney and the sheriff. Yesterday, that fee was reduced to 2.9% for a construction management fee. And, there is a time element, offered for that. And so the reason I'm here is to see if there are any questions or concerns about proposed contract.
You have one with you?
I do.
I had one, that's I looked over. It'd be on page 24, section 11. In the compensation section. 11.6.2. Do
Okay,
you see that? I just reading through that and it said that, the expenses incurred by the construction manager and the construction manager's consultant plus 1.5%, and then it says 3%.
that's a typo. We will correct that.
Yeah, so it needs
So
to
we
be
can just-
1.5%.
Yeah, it should be 1.5% in that, Jacob.
Okay,
You're correct.
so I have to fix that.
Yeah, it's stated in language 1.5%, but the numeral is 3.0. So
Okay,
we'll just strike through that and make it 1.5 to reflect the language.
and on this, the reimbursement for travel expenses and all these things,
Mhm.
that's the next section above that, I think. How does that fall? Is there additional charges above and beyond the management fee, the 2.9? Is there additional charges outside of that built inside of it?
There will be additional charges, for instance, permitting, the fees that happen.
The transportation, like every time you drive down here, is that gonna be a separate bill than outside of the 2.9?
That is correct.
How much is the mileage on that? I didn't see that. Is that,
How much is what?
what is the charge for that per mile or
It would be per mile,
how, do you have a price for that?
whatever the going rate that the IRS allows for a per mile charge.
I was trying to find that in here.
62 cents a mile, isn't it?
And that
Like
rate fluctuates from time to time.
Yeah.
So you've got these, those are the things I was trying to spell out a little clearer to understand them completely what we were agreeing to. So every time somebody drives down here, we'll have mileage charge on top of the 2.9.
The intent, obviously, is to have, once this project gets into construction, is to have a site superintendent here. So there won't be again, once construction really begins and takes off, that site superintendent won't be driving back and forth every day. It'll be here, so.
And I kind of, that's what, sometimes we might think that the almost $400,000 would cover that, for being the construction manager. But there's additional fees here I'm trying to wade through here.
There are gonna be additional costs to this project.
I understand the permits, I understand that, but when we're talking about the person that you're hiring to do it coming, that's not part of it, that's not part of your management fee does not include,
Some of these reimbursable expenses, that is correct.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to make sure we understand.
Yep.
So 62 cents, that's not said in here anywhere, that's the rate.
No, it's not.
It's
the federal rate that
It's
changes.
close to that, isn't it? Like
Really set by the IRS.
Yeah.
what the Reimbursable
Federal
rate
rate.
Yeah, you
is.
can't negotiate that, but
No, I'm just trying to see where those words are.
And actually, Greg, these are all built into the cost.
That is
of the jail,
Yes,
right?
yes, all of these anticipated expenses and costs and reimbursables are part of that $16.4 million that was proposed.
Where is that in I have your breakdown right here.
The IRS rate right now is 65.5 cents.
Okay, that'd be what we're at. Well, in the breakdown here of the cost, the architect engineering fee, no, I mean where am I at here? The management, construction management fee is 3%, 414,000. If we drop that to 2.9, it's
Saves $13,800 and some odd dollars.
it's about 400, right? It saves $14,000, but I'm just trying to figure, because that's the additional cost here for extra things. I don't know where that is. Where is that in this estimate?
That would have been in the subtotal costs for construction per square foot at $12,789,371.06.
So that's that's figured into the first thing before you've put some dollars in there for these.
That is
fees.
correct, because those are considered construction costs.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any issues? Just flip through everything. That's
No, I didn't have any issues. I would just say that, I know we are looking at trying to negotiate and do all that and, I just feel like we've already gone through all of that, going from when, however long this planning has been going on, we talked to all architects, we talked to all these different people and got different bids and went with Samuel's group. And I don't think we need to be changing horses in the middle of the race now.
I would
That's just
agree
my
with you.
feeling. I just think that, you know, they have got a group of people that they are comfortable with working with, and what research I've done on them, they seem very knowledgeable and know what they're doing.
It's not,
I just don't want us to delay and delay and delay. And I think 2.9, you know, it's a small number, and I don't know if that's negotiable or if that's,
well, it was,
you know, where we're deadlocked at on the 2.9%.
That's it.
That's okay.
That's the number.
Yep.
And that number is offered until midnight on the 25th.
well, it
So
was, to point out, negotiate, it was 3% until I made a phone call yesterday that everything's negotiable. And you wanna wait forever, but there is at least we did
But you also
do
don't
some
want,
negotiating.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you also don't want to lose out on opportunity. And,
There's a balance.
right. And
So-
I think, you know, as far as, and you've been closer to it because you've worked with Samuel's group for quite a while now on this jail, a lot longer than I have, obviously, but, from what I've seen and what I've read and what I've gone to understand is, you know, you run risks of not getting stuff done in time, where we could be behind the 8 ball on things. And I don't know that it's going to be that much different since we've already passed the bond issue. You know, the cost is already there. Now that my understanding, it may come under that.
it may very well.
I mean, costs may fluctuate in there. It may go less than. what the
Absolutely,
16
it could.
million is. So, yeah, that's what I just don't want us to, you know, we can be overly cautious and, you know, still, you know, they've worked really hard to get the bond passed, and, you know, we were up against time constraints anyway when we were trying to plan and get it on the ballot and things like that. And I just don't want us to miss out on those opportunity to move this thing forward and get caught into a thing where all of a sudden now we're,
Right,
there's a delay and we're like a whole nother year before we can even start.
Our responsibility was to get it on the ballot. We got it on the ballot. Almost 68% of the voters approved it. They want it to move forward. And I would like to make a motion that we sign the contract with Samuel's group to be our construction managers,
2.9%.
2.9%.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second, discussion. I would say there is a balance, like you're saying, we don't wanna wait forever, and make things could go up. But $14,000 was saved yesterday when I made a phone call. So there is also a balance that we need to negotiate as we go along in a timely manner. So that is, I do agree, we can't wait forever, but you need to, a phone call was made and we worked out a deal that was a little bit better, $14,000 was saved.
Right. No, I don't,
So it's good, so it's a balance, it's a
yeah,
balanced approach.
I agree. I mean, I think it's good to negotiate and ask and not be a rubber stamp.
Right,
But I also agree there's a fine line in there where, hey, you know what, we've put a lot of work into it. You can't just always, I mean, wait for the best deal to come along if that's, you know, the best deal might be right in front of your face. So
I think Samuel's group
they've kind of,
proved,
yeah, and they worked really hard for the bond issue. I think, you know, we spent money with them. And I would hate to waste that and switch, you know, or think that we could maybe find somebody better.
the whole thing was that they educated the voters. And I think that proved that in the vote, the 68% of voters wanted this. And I think we need to move forward with it as quickly as possible. I call for the question.
So we've got we'll vote here, and I'll say something else. Go ahead.
I said I call for the
That's what
question.
I'm saying. Go ahead and vote, please. Roll call. Call the question.
Holmes,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes,
Mayor,
Yes,
I've got that done. Now that that's done, I just would say, as we go along, we sit down, my opinion is we gotta move timely,
Absolutely.
but I would like to see a couple bids on architects. You know, we have tons of architects in there. And the one you want to work with, that's fine, haven't bid it, but I would like to see, we're talking millions of dollars here.
How would you like to move forward on, assessing a design firm? Do you,
But you've got one you want, isn't there? There's others. We can promote some that have been in here and have you look into them.
you need to look at the people who have done jails,
Exactly.
not courthouses, not other things.
If they've built jails before, there, we have to hit that criteria. They have architect designed jails in Iowa. And that would be a pretty good hurdle to get over. But we'd like to have a couple
That-
bids to know.
and that's fine.
how do we decide, I guess, even if you have a couple bids and you have different people versus what the group that they play or work with? How do you, I guess, how do we make a decision on that?
You look at
Based off of, I mean, because I don't have any expertise in building a jail,
I'm
You call the
looking,
people they
and-
work for,
right?
call the counties they work for. And
I look at the counties that they've built for, in Iowa, Cerro Gordo, Dallas, Dubuque, Johnson, and Scott. Dubuque, Johnson, and Scott are three of our biggest in the state. And I think if you can please them,
Who was
you're
the,
doing very well.
who was the architects for Fremont, for Taylor, for Montgomery? They probably had, we don't know how they got along. We could ask them. There's all kinds of
Right, there is, but
architects, and they worked for our neighboring counties and all kinds of.
was a
counties.
lot of that done though before we got to this point? When you had jail
Oh,
meetings
we
and
had-
things, I mean, you had a lot of
Nobody's been
architects.
hired. We had a bunch of different architects come here and they all wanted to
Yep.
work for us. And they all, a lot of them built jails, or drew up jails. I mean,
So I guess I'm guessing, I'm asking, we went through and settled on Samuel's group.
they're not the architect.
The
They're
what?
just the construction manager. That's all it is. We're hiring somebody totally different to draw the pictures. And they're advising somebody they've worked with before. They're not
But
doing it.
when we planned it, we talked to different architects, right? I mean, we had interviewed with different architects and they had costs and things and
It wasn't time to hire them then. We weren't hiring, we were just hearing them out.
no, what I'm saying is then they brought all the costs to you and you saw them all. Correct? And then you said, hey, we're gonna go with Samuel's group. Is that how we made that decision?
For the jail promotion, the jail, whatever, the educational services. They're not to be the architect. They're not the architect. Samuel's group is not the architect. We're right now gonna have to hire an architect. Now it's time to, again, that's been a couple of years ago when these people were here too, so. We're kind of at that stage in the game, and it says in this agreement that we have to hire and we have to
correct.
choose who we're gonna have do that.
Okay. And that honestly is, the right and the responsibility of the board. I will suggest there are firms that have done jails, that have designed and engineered both architectural engineering of detention facilities. The primary consideration, so capability is, primary. You obviously want people that have some experience, but the other thing that you are absolutely as important is capacity. Because most of the design firms are booked out months ahead. And if you choose to look at several, you might want to put one of the requirements in there that they can respond immediately with their full design team. Because you don't have time to waste.
Right.
While other projects get done, they're already in their bin of work. You want your project to take front and center right now. So why wait for a design team that just is gonna delay
Right.
and
That'd be a good
increase
part of the
your
bid.
costs.
That's part of the bid.
So if you'd like, I could provide some other names that you could reach out to and have a conversation with and see what their capacities are like. That are very capable, that would be qualified to perform this work.
If you put that together and, kind of here's what we want bid. We want this done in this time frame. If you bid, if you can, in this time frame, here's what we want, the pictures we want drawn, the architect. Designs we want drawn, put that together in an appropriate manner for the time we're working inside of. And let's get it out to you, because you only have one bidder. There is no reason to really behave. I mean, it's price. I mean, you're gonna put things as high as you can. I mean, that's business. So we need 2 bids, 3 bids, something to make sure everybody knows they might not get it. So if we have 3 capable bidders that are qualified, then that bid's gonna be as fair to the taxpayer as it can possibly be.
I'll be happy to provide some recommendations of firms that we can reach out to and have
That'd
that
be good.
conversation with. Including Venture and
Right.
others.
Very good.
And I will also ask that they provide a fee range and define how negotiable they are on their fee.
Yeah,
Does that satisfy what you're looking for?
we need to know what, so we can get something going, but we.
The other question, who designed this?
Our team,
So-
our internal architects on staff, the initial schematic design, just as concepts,
Okay,
okay?
so there's not a risk there that, where I feel like we promoted a false
Oh, no, there's.
false depiction of what the jail would look like or resemble based on, and then all of a sudden now we switch architects and they've designed something totally different than what this was that we promoted to the public,
Well, and
saying,
there is that opportunity, that risk that could happen. Ideally, that wouldn't happen. But the opportunity is there that depending on who you select, that they want to do it their way, their design. And so can I preclude that from ever happening? No, I can't. But
That's a board decision.
If we went with Venture, would they change it?
I would say, no, they've seen this preliminary proposal. And they also have agreed with the site selection, looking at what they can gather. And what we know to date, again, now that we're hired on as CM, there's a whole laundry list of site factors that have to
Right.
get accomplished quickly.
We're not switching architects. We do not have an architect right now. We're gonna hire an architect. This is
Yeah.
preliminary sketches,
It is.
and it's up to the board whether or not it changes, not the architect. So if they wanna change it, we say, no, this is what we pitched, unless it's a better idea. What if it comes up some way that's better, and we all agree it's better, but this is what we have. They don't change it willy-nilly on their own without us saying it's okay.
so how quickly do we move this forward as far as,
So they start us next step, isn't it?
so you guys
We'll
now.
start immediately. I'll provide.
Okay, you'll get hired as the construction
Yep,
manager.
as soon as you guys sign a contract, we're on as your construction manager. We can provide that insight
Okay,
legally to address that question and help provide some guidance to you on that.
Capable. Get us the ones that are capable,
It's capable and capacity.
capacity, the timeframe.
Those two things are critically important on your project.
And
It's not
build
just
sales.
capability,
Right,
it's capacity to perform immediately.
yeah, timeframe and capable and built jails report. We'll put that together, and as soon as you get that together, we'll look at it and
Very
make a
good.
decision.
appreciate it.
Signed contract,
Yep,
is
just
that
fix
something we
that,
can do today?
fix that,
I would say we voted on it. We should
You
sign
make
it
that
right now.
correction, yeah.
fix that typo on
Okay.
there to 1.5%.
We'll provide a corrected, updated with that 1.5% corrected, so.
Yep.
Very good. Any other questions for me? Thank you very much.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to this is a successful project.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Okay. Those papers away. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Next up, we have talking about the pipeline ordinance, moving forward with that, we put that on there just from last Thursdays, we're continuing to look into what we have in place. I have not heard back, I did not see from Carl, he's had time to study that, our current
I had
zoning
a
ordinance.
question from the meeting minutes last week. Cause it was, and I didn't understand, when we were talking about it last week, there was something said about it being a $5,000 to $10,000 for a ordinance.
That Tim Whipple
That you
just said that was
you said
roughly,
that was what it would cost us for an ordinance.
if you had them apply it, build us one, it was gonna be somewhere, that's what other counties have spent.
Okay,
To apply what they've done, even though they've already done it, they have to apply it to us and all the legal bills, so that's just a number to know that's out there. Now, if our zoning already applies to this, which is what we're trying to figure out, it wouldn't cost anything, we
right,
already have in place.
yeah, so
We
do
just
you
send
have
a letter
anything
out that
from the
says-
zoning?
That's what we're trying to figure out first.
Okay,
So, and we've reviewed this and, read over, trying to study, we need a legal opinion though,
yeah,
because that's what we're after, we need a legal opinion, and we haven't got it yet. Whether our zoning applies to this, that I know of. I haven't seen one, so we're reaching out for that, I put this on here just in case we knew it today. I don't have an official one, have you seen anything? A legal opinion, I haven't either.
No, but I don't wanna move forward with it until we. I don't
there's
see
not much
spending
we can do
$5,000 to
until we find out
$10,000.
zoning,
There's no reason to, especially
Yeah.
if we have already in place from 2008.
right?
So we're trying to figure that out. So we will, continue to try. Yeah, Marty, yeah, go ahead.
Marty Maher, owner residence of Page County. I live over by Imogene. I by no means am a thorough person to inspect your ordinances, but just looking at your zoning ordinance, it says that utility installations are allowed. Now, I know what a utility installation is, and I think you know what the utility installation is. It delivers service to the public. However, these pipeline companies are going to the Iowa Utilities Board to get a permit. And I would highly expect that they will consider themselves a utility because they have to go to the Utilities Board to get a permit. Consequently, I think your agricultural zoning may be on thin ice in regard to this. Additionally, you allowed windmills in the county. And that's not in the agricultural zoning ordinance. That is a commercial enterprise. It says nothing about that in the zoning ordinance. So I would say there's two strikes against the idea that our zoning ordinance will have any effect on a pipeline as far as what the any commission, the zoning commission or the Board of Adjustment. I don't think they'll have anything to hang their hat on, is what I'm saying. They need a setback ordinance that actually gives them some backing. Because either the Board of Adjustment or the zoning people are going to feel pressure like they've never felt before if they try to do a setback or something or deny, because it doesn't look like there's much there supporting them. And I guarantee you they will be threatened with being sued, either individually or as a group or as a county, simply because of that. Consequently, I think your best bet is going to be to get a setback ordinance. Now, as you just said, it's not a cheap issue, but it wouldn't take, I wouldn't think, the Whipple people very long to look at your ordinances and decide if you have any chance of success without a setback ordinance. And that shouldn't cost much money. I mean, 1 hour for their people to flip through your ordinances will pretty well tell you whether or not you've got a leg to stand on. So anyway, that's what little bit I read out of your agriculture ordinance, and what it seems to me to be is, we're kind of on thin ice with that respect. Granted, like you said, it doesn't mention pipeline, but it says, utility installations, which to me would be electricity, rural water. In some places, it might be a sewer line, but those are utilities that bring something to the public. This is taking something for a private outfit to private gain. Doesn't qualify as a utility in my mind, but I'm sure words will be stretched to accommodate that.
We need a legal opinion on that. That's what we need.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would cost too much to do
And
that.
I'm all right with getting an eye,
So when we
at least.
get
a
our, I
opinion.
have our ordinances, but I think we still have to have a, letter of agreement or letter, what am I trying to say?
They were supposed to look into,
Do we still need to have that with Tim Whipple?
I think, signing.
If we hire him, we do.
If we voted, I think I have to go back and look, but I'm
But
pretty
then-
sure we voted, but then we never went forward because.
No,
everything
we
got
didn't.
stopped.
Yeah,
We didn't
but
spend any
so,
money.
so then if you pull up the zoning stuff, then we'd want Carl to look it over. Probably would be the best route
If he
at
can-
first and then,
First, and then if he can't, if
If he
he's
can't
not
decide
sure,
for
then we need
not
to reach
sure,
out
then we
to
have
somebody
to-
else.
okay,
So we're trying to get an answer on that. So we made him aware of it. We want to
Yeah.
know, does this apply? What's his opinion on that? And then if he doesn't feel comfortable with it, we need to ask somebody who's dealt with it more, maybe.
okay.
So that's where we're at, trying to get an answer on that, then go forward from there.
Yep,
One thing I brought up last week was about and I don't know what you would call it, but it's the firm that oversees the installation of the pipeline. To make sure that it is done according to what is,
Right.
laid out in the contracts.
so is that the sighting of
Um,
the pipe?
It's how deep it's buried.
how deep it is, if the soil is put back the way it's supposed to be,
Yeah,
if the site is left in the proper setting to make sure that there's no corners cut according to the design that is laid out in public as to
Yeah.
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
As you said, you didn't think you signed on to a group, but somebody, as I talked to, said they remember that, there was a letter of intent that
Yeah.
was perhaps signed with this group, this ISG.
What I remember is it was, when it comes time to do it, we were going to talk to them and, about it, basically. We didn't agree to do it with them, that I remember. It's been a long time ago.
Well, there was
Saying that we would agree to
There's a letter
talk
of
to them.
intent.
Yeah,
You might be real careful with that because that could imply that you're going forward, and the outfit that Montgomery County hired is Snyder and Associates out of Atlantic. They were working with a gal by the name of Christina Paradise. And from what I understand, they do a very good job. And as we said last week, that way you're not asking the fox to guard the hen house.
right. No, it makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense to do something.
We could put on the agenda next week. We have we can make some item that says,
I would.
we've not made any agreements with anybody or something.
yeah,
I would make a specific
To make it
motion to that so that you have that option later on as you need it.
Yeah. Okay, we can look into that.
Let's see, one of the things you'll find interesting, there were 3 pipelines trying to access the state of Iowa. Navigator, as you know, has backed out. Yesterday, Wolf ADM rescinded their application in the state of Illinois, because that's where they were going to deposit this. So they've rescinded that. They claim they're going to reapply in 2024, but the Illinois Commerce Commission said, we're not going to do anything until the PHMSA comes out with its own rulings. So I don't know where that's going, but nevertheless, that's 2 of the pipelines that are down, but we don't want to assume that someone's going to do that. They're not going through Illinois. So we're still alive and well with Summit.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll continue to look for a legal opinion on that. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have board communication.
I've got a SWPCO meeting today at 5:30 on Zoom.
Today,
So, yep, today.
SWPCO.
What? SWPCO, sorry, SWPCO.
I've got a Wabansie meeting next week.
okay, we'll on see. Well, I have a couple things from last meeting I said I would bring in the facts on, and I went home, researched and brought them in. We talked about last week, the IPIV, certain issues Judy brought up with me, does not apply to the minutes, the director. That 21.3 is what they're over 21. It talks about each government body should keep minutes and the records, time, place, present. That's not so. They do have jurisdiction over that, and that is a big part of the public records is our minutes. So, and the other thing that was said very clearly that I said I would bring in when it was said that it wasn't so is that she did not file the complaint against the Page County minutes, our minutes in Page County. The complaint says, here's the actual complaint that was on file, that was passed by their board and received. Furthermore, this is at the end of it, the meeting minutes fail to show all requirements under code 21.3. While the minutes are extensive in their documentation of public comments and discussion, they fail to provide the results of each vote taken and information sufficient to indicate the vote of each member present. While Page County states that there's sufficient understanding of requirements of Iowa Code in Chapter 1, there was no intention not to comply with the requirements. So they're saying they would like to go forward with us. In the complaint conclusion, it says the two things that were wrong. We failed to provide a properly noticed an agenda 24 hours for a meeting of a jointly managed drainage or levy district, and for failing to comply with the legal requirements for minutes of the Page County meetings.
That had to do with the Page Fremont Johnson run.
There was no agenda for that.
That's right.
So that was wrong, and that was wrong. That was the initial complaint, and for failing to comply with legal requirements for the minutes of the Page County meeting. That's the conclusion of the official complaint that was filed on record from the IPIB. And then what was said last week, just to clear this up, was the way this came about was, this is a KMA interview with the director on September 26th. Director Erica Eckley says concerns on meeting minutes were added to the acceptance after Page County officials had submitted previous minutes noting prior discussions about the June 14th meeting. It was the meetings we talked about, this drainage district meeting is why they were sent there. It says, in reviewing that, the minutes that were provided failed to include Chapter 21 requirements regarding the result of any vote taken of the board and supervisors. Those were the two issues in that acceptance order.
And
There's been a lot of things said. They said it wasn't our minutes, it was Fremont County's minutes. The acceptance order is black and white. This is their official thing that was adopted by their board, the state board. It was two issues that happened. And there they are. And then it was said that was not so.
And that
is
had to
so.
do with a specific meeting. It was Johnson Run between the two counties, a
Yes.
specific meeting.
And the minutes did not meet Iowa
That's a
code.
specific meeting,
But the Page,
not our other meeting minutes. The specific meeting between Page and Fremont for Johnson Run. That was what it's referred to.
no, it's not, because it does go on to say, let's see, where's that?
And then the complaint was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn when Chuck Morris made the complaint. And when it showed that the minutes were in review did not meet Iowa code, and they were 2 minutes, they were from two different board of supervisor meetings.
Jacob, we're not gonna get anywhere with this.
I want
We
the
might as
facts
well
to be
quit
known.
discussing it.
I was told that it was not our minutes. It was the minutes from this boardroom, from this meeting. There's two sets.
And it had to do with Johnson Run.
We mentioned that we were going to have a meeting with them previous to it happening. We showed that we had talked about it publicly. So there was 2 Page County Board of Supervisor meetings that did not show the vote. And then upon reviewing that, I don't think any of them had for a long, long time. So, that was all known and said. There is, let's see here, it says this, another spot.
There's no use belaboring the point.
Well, no, the point was made that it wasn't our minutes and that the IPIB has no
No,
jurisdiction.
the point was made that it had to do with a specific meeting. It was between the two counties, Johnson Run. The complaint was withdrawn. And it had to do with that specific meeting, not our everyday minutes.
That's not true. And I can prove that. If you
Well,
would like to
let's
read
just
that.
forget it. 'Cause
Well, I would like the
we're
truth
gonna,
to be known.
no, we're gonna agree to disagree because
No, there
it's
is.
gonna be a 2-1 every time. You
That's
don't
not
have to
even-
be right.
That's not even about this right now. This is facts. There is a fact here. There is truth here. There isn't a gray area. It is for sure. There was 2 sets of minutes sent from this boardroom. That is not the Fremont County minutes, the minutes for this. That has nothing to do with this. The minutes that did not meet code were taken here. It goes on to say that, let's see, it says. Let me find my spot. While they included, I gotta find where it says that, many discussions and all these things, it did not, it failed to include the vote.
That vote for that day.
Can I ask a question?
No, that's not so.
No?
No, you can ask questions.
Oh, okay.
What she's saying.
No. So what is, I guess, obviously I agree with Jacob about the minutes, but what is the end game? So I feel like we are gonna rehash this over and over again. And like G says, it's 2-1. We have this opinion from IPIV, that backs up what we're saying, but there's no way to enforce that opinion.
Well, we have,
And we run the risk of when we're putting minutes on our website and to the newspaper that are unofficial minutes, that when we vote on them, and let's say this goes for a whole year, which it's almost done, almost, what is the risk to, I mean, at some point, there's gotta be an end game.
There's no risk to it, Todd.
There's gotta be something either, compromised or done the way that the board is asking.
And
Now, if they want to flip the board or we want to add members to the board or whatever the people, the citizens want to do later, that's great. But for this board right now, you have 2 members that see it one way and 1 member that sees it a different way.
we're being
And
ignored.
it seems to me that we have 1 person voting and upholds what the other 2 vote on, then it seems like that's not the right way for the board to behave as far as what's been, I mean, if they are truly our minutes and, we stand by them. Now, if there's repercussions that somebody comes in and says, well, your minutes said this, but that's not what happened and you guys voted on them and you're at fault. I take full responsibility of whatever minutes that I vote on and pass. So because that's it's not gonna be the auditor that's going to be accused of bad minutes. It's going to be us that voted on it and said, this is what our minutes should be. So if something, we always talk about, well, you saved us from a lawsuit or whatever, then I would think that we need to, we have a responsibility as the board for those minutes. So if something happens, we're all elected, that's our responsibility. And then Judy, if you vote no and something happens and, me and Jacob will gladly take the blame. But I just think we're gonna keep rehashing this for a whole nother year, next year.
Well,
And I just wanna know what the end game is. Where can we find compromise? Now, I sent here 3 months ago or whatever it was, it's been quite a while, but I know I had a conversation with Melissa about, we had 5 weeks of minutes there that were just perfect. We didn't argue about them. They were written kind of what we thought should be. I don't think we had any bad discussions. We passed them. And I sent those copies to her and I said, why can't we do what we just did for 5 weeks and proved that that's the way they could be done? And they went back to the old way of doing them. So I don't know if there's a room that we can sit and compromise or not, find a common ground that we can agree on so that we don't have to argue and complain and have all these, 2-1 votes. And I don't know. I just want to know what the end game is because I don't want to do this for another
I don't either.
year.
As long as you're taking everything out of the minutes.
We're not taking everything out.
You
Yeah,
have-
basically,
here's the
We're
rule.
taking discussion out.
You have a
which is
right, you have a
different.
right to vote. You do, like
I
you said.
do,
and
I
you
do,
can
and
vote
I will
against them.
continue to vote that.
But the problem Todd's saying is the board, majority of the board has spoken. The whole opinion that the board has no right over their minutes has been debunked. So totally in this room a couple weeks ago. So
I think the difference is that the publication of the minutes falls under 331, which I still feel like there's an attorney general's opinion regarding that.
Well, that was-
And I know IFIP feels differently, but also too, our county attorney has addressed that and has as well stated that the attorney general's opinion still stands. So you have two differing opinions.
Do you think, are you
Which they
referring
are-
to the 82
yeah,
general?
that's what she's doing.
Attorney General, not the 92?
Yeah.
Because there's a new 92 general.
Correct, and the
Attorney
attorney
General
general's
opinion.
office is aware of that and have
Okay.
addressed that when they looked at the 82 opinion.
I've never seen that.
So.
So, okay,
I
let me
feel
ask
like-
you this, is this, I mean, are we heading, so obviously, if we don't get somewhere with this, are we gonna have to go to court? I mean, is that what we're gonna end up doing to ourselves is,
We'll have to go to the attorney general because we'll have to spend a bunch of money because
because
even
I
though.
don't want us.
You've already spent a bunch of.
I don't
money.
want us to go down that road. I think I think we're adults, we could kind of figure this
Well,
out.
and I also feel like there's nothing,
And
I mean, continually you guys want to change the minutes and take everything out of the minutes, but there's nothing unfactual in
Uh,
what you're taking out.
Okay.
So
no,
regarding
and
that
I'm not
issue,
saying that
like,
there's
you guys
anything
like-
unfactual. I'm just saying that so what we've decided as a board, we voted on to say we do not want discussion to be part of our minutes. And that was a vote that the board did. So if the board's minutes, and this is something that they want to do, then why can't we abide by whatever the board's decision?
Because I think
respect
you're
elected-
missing that attorney general's opinion still states that the auditor is responsible for the text and the format of those minutes.
Of what?
So I understand that you feel differently, Jacob,
Of what's
and you-
required.
but I am still going off the attorney general's opinion, which is what our county attorney is recommending, which at the end of the day, if something transpires, our county attorney is who I turn to for legal counsel.
Can I make a suggestion before we get out of order here?
There's no
This is
getting
com-
out order where I'm discussing.
This is
now.
communication. If you're gonna discuss this, why not put it on the agenda item? Because there's a
Right,
lot more
because-
discussion, unfortunately, that I'm seeing as well as everybody else on the internet.
We're communicating, we're not voting. We're communicating. Thank you. And everybody's in
It's
order.
just a suggestion.
Yeah. So we have to have somewhere to communicate because we can't do it outside of this room. So we can put it on the agenda. I've got a resolution we can pass. I'm working on.
Well, I mean,
saying
it's-
Which was advised by the IPIB. So we'll get that done. We'll put it on the agenda. And we can all vote.
It was on the agenda as discuss and action, so I was just discussing. Cause
No,
I just wanted to know what the end game
board
was.
communication.
We're on board
is what this
communication.
is.
We're-
Oh, we're on board communication. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We can,
Oh, yeah.
I just skipped out a minutes, but.
Yeah.
action's not being taken, discussion's being had, which we
Okay.
meet one time a week. And you talk about the money being wasted talking about this. Does it cost more money for you to sit here right now? It doesn't cost any more. We can sit here.
I'm talking about the money you've spent on legal fees trying to get an opinion from a Nebraska attorney.
Yeah,
Over $2,200 you spent
yeah,
on
we
this.
spent money because
You spent that.
in Iowa, I know of no board of supervisors anywhere that does not have, if they vote on their minutes, what they want in there, that doesn't have the right to
Because
say.
they're not taking everything out of the minutes.
Oh,
And let's back that up too, because there's technically nothing in the code of Iowa that states the Board of Supervisors approves their minutes at the end of the meeting.
we went.
So, I
at the end
mean,
of
I
the
know
meeting,
that
no, that's fine.
frustrates you, but also too, at the end of the day, there's nothing in Iowa code that states that, which the Iowa code is silent in different areas. And so there's no guidance then on that.
We have an official opinion by the IPIB that was just passed a few months ago or a month ago, that we had the director come in here, anybody can read it, that says,
But she
should the,
also only
hold on,
controls-
please let me finish. Should the board of supervisors have the right to amend their minutes? And the answer is yes. And that's an opinion issue, not opinion like I think this. It's like your attorney general opinion. The board appointed by the governor for the whole state of Iowa came together and approved that opinion on this issue where it's silent. And they gave that opinion, and she came here and told us that, and I feel like it never happened.
She
She was
also
on
said
Zoom.
she
He also said
controls
only if
chapter.
that you can amend if it is inaccurate. If it's inaccurate.
It says, equity noted, I have right here for interview, then the opinion emphasized the minutes should focus on the factual information, required by Iowa code. That's the
Factual.
facts.
And she also
Code
stated at
required.
the beginning of that she controls what, chapter 21, 22, and 23.
Yes,
So you're also then reaching out into 331.
yes, and
Which
she,
is code sections that I operate under, and as well, that certain specific areas in the minutes operate under.
and you directly asked her questions that night, two of them.
And I
you were
don't think it
answered
was
directly.
ever addressed that Iowa code does not say anywhere in there about the board officially approving the minutes.
I suggest we move on.
The board, the minutes do not belong to the
end
board
this.
again. Go back to that. This is, we're told all the time to respect offices. And there is no respect for, we've been elected to sit here, we've said what we want done with these things, and for a year we've been ignored. And that's wrong. And you can vote, I voted 2-1 all the time on certain issues I didn't agree with for the last couple of years, and that's fine, that's the way it went. But this is wrong, and I guess we'll have to continue on to the Attorney General to get an opinion to show the truth. And if it comes down that this is totally wrong, as the director of the IPIB has said, if they agree with her, which she says she has that jurisdiction, this whole escapade has been caused not by us, but by the people that are refusing to listen to the will of the board.
I'm gonna say one more thing. The people of Page County have not asked that the minutes be cut. They appreciate reading the paper and knowing what's going on in the boardroom. No one has asked that the board minutes be taken
I have-
totally out of context.
You know, we can say you've talked to people, I've talked. I've
I
had
didn't
several
say.
people- You said no one. I've had several people say I've had other counties tell me our minutes are the most drawn out. I don't know. He said, she said, strange minutes they've ever seen. When you get into these
That's
wild public
very
comments.
interesting, Jacob.
Yeah, I know. You hear
Very
different things, I hear different things. So saying what we heard is
Yeah.
irrelevant, is what I'm saying to your comment. We can.
No,
all
I haven't heard, has anybody in here, nobody's come in here and complained about the minutes.
That's not
It's
true.
only you.
We've had several people come in and complain about the minutes, about their statements not even being accurate or complete. So anyway, that's not true. And that's been
All right.
disproven.
Could we please move on?
Sorry, I opened up a can.
I'm sorry you
No.
did keep talking.
Well, we have to march on. We have to have something, just to end this, we have to have black and white. We have to pass something. We'll pass a resolution that the IPIB will bless. Get something they agree with, then we'll pass it, and then we'll go
Your
on.
resolution won't hold water.
Well, we'll just have to march on and see. So as far as claims go, if we're done with it, this is.
I don't believe we have any claims, do we?
right?
Any claims? Okay, then we're to the meeting minutes. Go back to that. We have two sets here, the set from the 14th. I had no issue with.
No, I had no issue with that.
They were,
Wow.
there's no issue.
Do we vote on those separately?
Yeah, let's do them separate. So we have the 14th minutes. You can make a motion on the 14th minutes. when the
I move
canvas
that we
elect-
approve the minutes of the 14th.
All right,
Second.
all right, motion and second. You can roll call us on that when you want, Melissa. There's not public comment in here, and things is why these minutes have no issue. There was no public comment then, so it's just the business of the board.
Holmes,
Yes,
Mayor,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes,
okay. Now we get to the 16th, which there was extensive public comment, extensive things that we have as a board asked to not be in there, and it's not complete. I made responses that aren't, it's not complete, it's not objective. So on that, I worked over it.
Yeah, so one thing I would say is on mine, so I left in quite a bit of our discussion with Greg Wild. Cause I did think some of that was important, not to dismiss all of it. So
I can look at it. The
It may be
reason we go to discretion, you have to have some kind of scale you cut them by. Otherwise, you don't know where to start and stop. But as far as facts and numbers go, I don't have a problem, as long as, well, you have to talk about the board every time, because if you get into discussion, you can't have part of a discussion or it's not complete. You have to be very careful. That's what she warned against. You have to be very careful when you do that.
you have copies.
Yes, totally. Ahead of myself.
yeah, I don't have a copy of mine because my printer broke again, so. But you
Copy,
guys,
Melissa.
you guys can keep it. There's, so that's fine.
I'll get all mine.
That's yours, yeah.
Got several copies. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Which one do I have now? I'm also here to.
Wow.
So Jacob, you don't want anything in about the discussion with the St. John's group at all?
No discussion. When we vote, like today in our motion, it says that we did. We can, as we go on, talk about we want to leave, but you have to have a scale to cut these by. I can't say I want to leave the things I want not.
But you want secondary roads discussion in there.
We talked about as a board, I don't know, a long time ago, after we said leave the update in case there's a road issue somebody wants to look at. When JD gives his road updates of which roads are being worked on next or whatever, we agreed to do that. That's why we've left that.
So
So it's something we have to agree on, but right now, you don't listen anyway.
I'm
So it
gonna,
doesn't
It
matter.
don't work for you.
So
I'm gonna ask
With
another
you.
question. Okay, so would it be beneficial as a group if, I know it'd probably be painstaking, but to go through the minutes and discuss and have a discussion and say, you know, we think this is important, or we think this is not important, and itemize every little thing. And because there are things, now I did agree that there were things that I thought the Samuels group talked about that were in that meeting minutes last week that probably should be left in there for the public. Just if there was questions. I didn't put it all in there, but there's some things that I thought were factual that needed to be in there. And
So we have to give a guideline.
So you're picking and choosing what you want in there.
That's why I just do the same thing, because it's dangerous.
yeah, I mean, it could be objective. That's I mean, that's a thought.
Objective is your point of view.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So kind of goes back to this thing that we've been trying to do is not have any of it in there. So it's not objective. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's
Kind of.
why we're doing it, not to hide
So-
anything. It's all on video.
What I see here
So,
is
like,
that everything is crossed out.
Do you have mine?
No, I have taken,
And
and
I could-
everything is crossed
Here,
out.
I could write minutes 10, 20 pages long, and then you could cross out a bunch of it. I mean, where do you start and stop? The official permanent record, this is not a news story. We're not writing a letter to the editor or where we want to spell out all of our ideas. This is the actions of the board.
Would you just make a motion on these minutes so we can move forward?
So
We're not gonna change anything.
like JD's thing, we agreed as a board, leave it in there. You know, we agree, because, hey, that's just where they're going, that's extra, but that's okay.
I
I'm
think
okay
if
with
they
some extra, but
wanted
there
the
has to
board
be.
to s- if
Oh,
they
hold on,
wanted
please,
the
there has to,
board
hold on,
write
there,
notes,
hold
they
on,
would have
please,
allowed that.
please, I wasn't done talking, please, thank you.
That's not what the Code of
Hold
Iowa
on.
states.
Hold on,
So I
Hold on.
specifically feel like if the Code of Iowa stated they wanted the Board of Supervisors to write the minutes for themselves, they would have put that in the Code of Iowa. They chose not to. They specifically put in the Code of Iowa, I think it's 331-504, that the auditor takes the minutes for the board meetings.
yes. And we're responsible
there's
for them.
Potentially,
And now, please don't interrupt me when I'm in the middle of my
well,
thought.
I wasn't
Well, I'm
finished with my
going through.
statement, but that's okay, go ahead.
Well, you weren't, you interrupted the whole situation. These are the board's minutes. The auditor's staff with clerk, as the clerk to record them. We are responsible, which she said, if we get in trouble, it's us. We're in trouble for these minutes. So we have to have an even scale. I wouldn't want to keep minutes on a scale. We made a scale, discussion, anything that's not emotion, action. It looks like the agenda with votes is what it looks like. That's what we said back in January, trying to make it simpler. That's what we're doing. We're not trying to cut anything out. We have every minute of this recorded. Every minute. Because we want it there. It didn't used to be that way. There was a board that voted to stop doing that. And that was not, I had no part of that, neither did you two. So anyway, we have to have a scale we go by. Or we have to go through them like you said. Let's go through them. I don't care.
I
We'll
move
leave
we
some
take,
of
I
them.
move we take a vote on the minutes.
Well, we have to have a motion to what we want to, how we want to vote. So you make a motion to vote on the minutes. If that doesn't
What?
have a second, then we need a motion that we can second.
Motion to vote on the minutes?
Yeah, we need to make a motion on the minutes. What do we want to do? Judy made a motion to vote on the minutes, but we have to know what are we voting?
On which ones?
Yeah, we have to have what
Which
we're doing.
amended minutes?
So if you let it die and then make a motion of what you want.
Did you make a motion?
I'm just making a motion.
She
to
just
vote on
made a
the minutes.
motion, so is there a second?
Second,
Well, if there's a second, okay. We have to vote on that. We're gonna wait. What we're
well,
doing.
I'm gonna move,
She made the motion though. You have to
Just
make
plain
your own
minutes.
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented by the auditor.
Second, then we're looking for another motion. I'll make a motion.
That failed, no second.
I am fine, before I make a motion. I am fine with having some kind of different scale if we can make one that's objective, but I don't know how to do that exactly. I'm fine with talking about that. Until that happens, my motion is I make a motion to approve the amended minutes to meet Iowa Public Information Board
Are
guidelines.
you talking about your rewritten minutes?
Or Todd.
Yes, mine, because that's what I did. So I did, until we have time to go through that, that's my motion. The minutes I put together, which meet their guidelines.
I'll second.
Okay.
I call for the question.
Okay, let's vote.
Holmes,
Yeah,
Maher,
Yes.
Clark.
No,
okay, now we get to the adjourn. Motion to adjourn,
Motion.
second that. I'll second that one, we can go home. Thanks for coming.